Well, folks, it is Spelljammer time officially, as they finally fixed things on D&D Beyond, so you can actually access all of your Spelljammer content. It was giving constant 404 errors a short time ago, but this is going to be the start of my Spelljammer content. There is a lot to cover, and I do promise to go back and cover all the stuff that I haven't done from things like Fizzbands, and there is a lot that I haven't done, and I'm still working through backlog. I have minis and things to unbox as well. So let's just bang out as much of the Spelljammer stuff as we can. And for the starters, a pretty quick hit video, we're going to be talking about the two new backgrounds contained in Spelljammer's Adventure in Space. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing so, as I will continue to cover these things. So if we take a look, you can see it has full contents here on D&D Beyond, and then you have your three individual books here, right? The Astral Adventures Guide, Boo's Astral Menagerie, Menagerie, wow, and Light of Xerixis. So Light of Xerixis is the adventure, Boo's Astral Menagerie is basically the monster manual for this, and then the Astral Adventures Guide is everything else. I will still stand by my thoughts that 364-page books is not enough. Ship-to-ship combat, which I've heard a lot of people complaining about, is essentially a paragraph. There's not a lot of information there. And yeah, when you're going to stuff everything related to ships into the same thing as magic items, backgrounds, and 6 different races, yeah. Oh, and I forgot also to mention basically the hub world of the adventures all stuffed into one book. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about backgrounds. Now, this is further 100% cementing that backgrounds will now give feats in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. We had seen a lot of that presence in Unearthed Arcana, but nothing published, so it was all just kind of up in the air. Well, the backgrounds contained in Spelljammer's Adventure in Space do provide you with feats, so that does seem to be something we will be able to look forward to in the future. So whatever the book that gets announced that's coming out later in the year, the stuff that's coming out in 2024, all of that stuff will likely have backgrounds providing feats as part of them. So we have 2 backgrounds in here. There's also a lot of really cool art you can see. So we have the Astral Drifter background. It says the following backgrounds are good choices for first level characters who have strong ties to the astral plane. Right, so for as long as you can remember, you've traversed the astral sea. There you've experienced firsthand the wonders of the silver void. You stopped aging and no longer felt hunger or thirst. Driven by wanderlust, you drifted apart around the astral sea like a mote of dust in the wind. So basically, this is almost like a Outlander, Hermit, Traveler type background, but just specific to the astral sea. As every background, it's going to provide you with 2 skill proficiencies, in this instance, Insight and Religion, and then also 2 languages. Again, your choice, but they do reference that Celestial or Gith might be something that you should choose. I also do like the little recommended line there. That is kind of nice. Your equipment, a set of traveler's clothes, a diary, an ink pen, a bottle of ink, and a pouch of 10 gold. This longevity is something new, so you have a little bit different, like 2 features essentially. Longevity is you are 20d6 years older than you look because you have spent that much time in the astral sea without aging. And your main feature here is Divine Contact. You gain the Magic Initiate feat from the player's handbook and must choose Cleric for said feat. In the Astral Sea, you cross paths with a wandering deity. The encounter was brief and non-violent, yet it made a lasting impression on you. And then it also goes on to say, basically, here's the Divine Contact that you had. You can roll on this D10 table or pick one. But yeah, basically it's giving you this, it kind of alludes to it up here. You stopped aging and no longer felt hunger or thirst. It doesn't officially state that you don't need to eat or drink, and it does just say that you look older because in the Astral Sea you haven't been aging. But yeah, basically gives you the Magic Initiate feat from the player's handbook. I was hoping we'd get some knowledge in here like we saw in some of the Unearthed Arcana that said like, hey, if you choose a background with a feat, the backgrounds presented in this Unearthed Arcana provide these feats, X, Y, Z. And if you were to choose a background not here, you should get this feat from this list. I was hoping they would have included something like that in here, but I'm assuming that's going to come in either 2024 or some book that comes out later this year. And the second and only other included background in this adventure is Wild Spacer. You were raised in the void of wild space, home to asteroid miners, moon farmers, and other hardy folk. Perhaps you grew up in a far-flung settlement such as the Rock of Brawl. But basically, you have been toughened up by living in wild space. It says wild space has toughened you up so well that you are as brave as a miniature giant space hamster when it comes to facing the terrors and other challenges of the airless night. Athletics and survival proficiencies, those are two very good proficiencies to have. And then you get tool proficiencies, navigator's tools, and vehicle space. So a new tool proficiency provided as well. And then your equipment is very similar to what a sailor would have in the base player's handbook, but a belaying pin, a set of traveler's clothes, a grappling hook, 50 feet of hempen rope, and a pouch of 10 gold pieces. And your specific feature, which is now a feat, is called Close Encounter. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is a RP piece, right? Close Encounter. You had a harrowing experience with one of Wild Space's many terrors. You escaped with your life, but it left a scar too, or maybe a recurring nightmare. Here's a list of 10 options for what could have been what scarred you. Yeah, I mean, some of these, Cosmic Horror, Beholder, Mind Flayer, yeah, those definitely could mess you up. So then, I'm sorry, and to that point, your feature that you get is Wild Space Adaptation. You gain the Tough feat from the player's handbook. In addition, you learned how to adapt to zero gravity. Being weightless doesn't give you disadvantage on any of your melee attack rolls. That is, if you're going to be playing a melee style character, this is almost a no-brainer because, like, obviously getting the Tough feat and just getting for free an extra 2 hit points at every level is awesome. Tough is one of those. It's obviously not an underrated feat, but it's not very flashy. But having it will make you won't be upset that you have it, right? Because it will continue to just be useful the entirety of your character's lifespan. But this being adapted to zero gravity, removing disadvantage on your melee attacks, other characters may have to come up with other ways to get around that. If they're melee fighters, you don't have to. You just have that built into your background. So there you go, folks. That is all we have for the backgrounds contained in Spelljammer Adventures in Space. This, again, we had the Wild Spacer and the Astral Drifter. Again, probably for me, aside from the backgrounds, really, I'm not too thrilled about. Like, they're cool. They fit the setting. Nothing crazy to write home about. However, the concept that we now have a published book source that is stating that you know what? I forgot. I always forget about Strixhaven. Man, that book just really flew right under my radar. I've been saying this whole time this is the first time we've had a background that gives a feat. But no, Strixhaven did that. So I would like to correct myself officially. But we are further perpetuating that Strixhaven wasn't a once-off thing, just a magic thing, because we have seen that in the past. They've even stated, Wizards of the Coast, that they tend to make the Magic the Gathering settings a little bit more powerful, whether that be with the Ravnica Guild system, with the Theros Piety system, and then we thought that was possibly going to be the case with the Strixhaven sort of school background, giving a feat, but now confirmed with Unearthed Arcana and now officially confirmed in a new published source, backgrounds will be giving you feats going forward. This also may be an opportunity for us to work together in a future video or perhaps a live stream to come up with feats that should be associated with every other background. Now, I know that in some of the Unearthed Arcana, they're like, here's a couple of standard options, right? Tough, alert, maybe one or two others are kind of just like generic ones that anybody could have. But I think it would be really cool if we were to go through all of the existing backgrounds, not just from the player's handbook, but from anything else. Like, I think there's 2 in Tomb of Annihilation. There's a handful of backgrounds scattered all around. And if we could come up with our own list of, say, hey, if you take the Acolyte background from the player's handbook, you should get Magic Initiate, also tied to Cleric. Or if you take the Sailor background, you should get Tough, or whatever the case may be. I think that would be a cool little list to develop. And then we'll put it out there, and you guys can go ahead and go forth and use it in your own games. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.